The Javier Baez comeback season continues with a 2-home run night on Tuesday. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen. Every single day, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first order. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday, the halfway point of the week, and the Detroit Tigers are halfway to a series victory. That's a pro-grade transition there, okay? Not written down, off the dome. Credit where credit's due, all right? That's a 7-3 victory for the Detroit Tigers in Game 1 of this 3-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They improved to 47-27 on the season. Fantastic to say that out loud, eh? Golly, 47, and can you fathom that? 47-27. Imagine telling yourself that in February or March. Hey man, like the Tigers, they're gonna be 20 games over 500, in the middle of June. We haven't. It's absolutely incredible. What a season! All the minor league teams doing phenomenal too. We'll talk about that kind of more on the next Tuesday for all of you, because we have every Monday off in June. So we'll talk about the system a little bit more. I'm trying to get some people on as well, but this win was fantastic. It was kind of close at one point in the middle there, and I understand that there was maybe some frustration like in the moment, because it was like, oh my goodness, this is the Pirates, like we should have the pitching advantage. There should be no reason that this is a close game. But there is a confidence level I think that this team has, especially when playing kind of the bottom feeders of Major League Baseball, where it's just like, you know what, just stick to your guns, okay? We don't need to panic. We don't need to like freak out because it's a one-run game or a tie game in like the 4th inning, okay? Over half of the game is still yet to be played. There's still plenty of time to do damage against a roster that is not very good and a bullpen that is not very good. And they just continue to apply pressure offensively. And I give them a ton of credit for just sticking to the game plan, not freaking out, and letting, the better team take care of business. Also, really important to win Game 1. We talked about that yesterday, and it was just a good response. You're coming off an off day. It's an inferior opponent. You lost a series over the weekend. You had a really sloppy game on Sunday. Just to kind of rebound from that and go, you know what, let's just have a nice 4-run victory against the team that we were favored against. Beautiful. And I think that you could pretty easily argue that the Tigers were the better team in every facet of the game. The only one that, like that error, was that in the 2nd inning. Obviously not great. So if you want to say like, oh, the Pirates had 0 errors, like maybe you could say defensively, but starting pitching, I think Mize started off rough. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but ended really nicely. The offense obviously better, and the bullpen was perfect for Detroit. So really solid day when you put all 9 innings together and don't react after, the 3rd or 4th inning. So what went right? A lot, as I've already kind of alluded to here. Let's start with Javi. Okay, let's just start with Javi Baez and his 2-home run performance on Tuesday night. So he was a part of that error, and I don't know. I kind of could go either way on whose fault it was. I'm sure that one of them would probably, Glaber or Javi, would probably like just say outright, that's on me, or that, was well, the other one saying that's on me. But I think that in the moment, I think that's probably on Javi. It looks to me like it was just a positioning issue. Like Javi threw the ball where he wanted Glaber to be in terms of on the bag, and Glaber was already kind of moving off the bag. It was going to be a close play, kind of weird. So I think that probably is on Baez at the end of the day. But he had a 2-home run performance and had a couple of really nice plays in the field after. And something else, man. He is now hitting 289 with a 798 OPS. Javier Baez is almost hitting 300 with an 800 OPS, and it is the middle of June. That is preposterous and awesome. Played really good defense everywhere he's been defensively as well. Just a fantastic night for a guy that has had a fantastic season for Detroit. Has 2 RBIs in this game, so both solo homers. But we will take it. Does not matter to me. A lot of home runs in this ball game for Detroit. As Spencer Torkelson didn't homer, but I guess we can talk about him. Riley Greene is who I meant to talk about. Goes 2 for 4 with an absolute moonshot to right field. One of the furthest home run balls you will see to that right field in Comerica, and one of the furthest of the season for him. 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs on the game. He's so good, man. Like, I understand that he frustrates some people because of the strikeouts. Like, he has high strikeout numbers and whatnot. He hasn't walked as much as we would like so far this season. We have very, very, very meticulously documented his struggles and what he needs to improve on and whatnot on this show over the course of the season and over the course of his career. But the upside is so obvious, and he has been this team's best producer over the course of the full season. I'm not talking consistently. I'm not talking game in, game out. When you just put all however many games they are now, 60, 70 games of the season together, there's an argument he's been the best hitter on the team. And he is over 50 RBIs now on the season, just having a really solid year, and deserves every single vote he gets for the All-Star game, where it looks like he's pretty comfortably going to be an All-Star game starter in July. And that's pretty freaking awesome coming from a Detroit Tiger. Spencer Torkelson did have a solid game at the plate. Goes 1 for 3, though, not go. 1 for 3 with a double and a walk. The double was an incredible piece of hitting. So he gets a fastball inside, doesn't do anything with it, then gets a slider that's kind of over the heart of the plate. And you're like, okay, what am I getting here? Back to the fastball low and in. I don't know who told Pittsburgh that was like a good pitch. The fact that he walked away from the first time he threw it low and in without having damage done, it was nothing short of a miracle. I have no clue why they went back to it. Torkelson turned on it, just dropped the barrel on the ball, drove it to left field. Really solid piece of hitting, and then the walk, obviously, we'd love to see that. Wenceel Perez. Like, Javi is going to get all the publicity from this game. 2 home runs. He's Javi Baez. Wenceel Perez might be my favorite performance of the night. We'll talk about that and more right after this. First, though, got to talk to you today about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered where the heck did all of my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop managing your money and you start truly building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on ridiculous things that I didn't need to be honest. Food delivery being one of them. Now I budget more and save way smarter. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, make us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow, hopefully, recapping Game 2 of this series. We'll see if the rain and the weather cooperates. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow either way, though. Wenceel Perez in Game 1, the 7-3 victory for the Detroit Tigers at home. Perez goes 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. So those who are everydayers and have listened to the show for a while are very aware of my frustration last season with Wenceel Perez being a switch hitter that did not hit left-handed pitching well. Like, that defeats the whole purpose of being a switch hitter in my eyes. And so far, it's 18 games, okay? It's a very small sample size. He has not even been back for 3 weeks. But so far, he has been phenomenal in that regard. He has a home run in this ball game as a right-handed hitter. Then he destroys a triple into the gap as a left-handed hitter a few innings later. And on the season, he has 5 home runs in 18 games, which is a 45 home run pace over 162. Obviously, he won't maintain that. However, the splits on righty-lefty of those 5 home runs after Tuesday night is now 3 home runs as a left-handed hitter, 2 home runs as a right-handed hitter. He has an OPS over 1,000. He has been phenomenal since coming back from injury and has, without a doubt, been one of the biggest X factors of the offense. Such a great injection into the lineup. And I cannot even properly articulate with words how valuable an effective switch hitter that is truly a solid, doesn't need to be like elite at both even, that is just usable and solid and dangerous against both righties and lefties, how valuable a player like that is in an AJ Hinch system. We all know that Hinch loves the matchups, loves to play that. If Perez is going to be solid from both sides, he's going to play 162 games, when obviously assuming health. He will be in the lineup literally every single night. They will find some spot for him if he's truly going to start hitting against both-handedness. And so far this season, he has done that. Unbelievable performance on Tuesday night. He looked confident and just strong, solid swings from both sides of the plate. And that's been a theme so far this season for him. So tip of the cap to Wenceel Perez. Let's talk Casey Mize. So he goes 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned, though, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts. His ERA is now 2.96 on the season. So at different points in this game, I would have put him in like different categories. If you would have asked me after the 3rd inning in what segment Casey Mize would be in on the show for this episode, I would have said what went wrong. I thought, looked really brutal in the first 3 innings. Then, if you asked me after the 5th inning, maybe, I'd be like, okay, I'll put him in stuff, right? Like, he recovered kind of nicely. The Tigers are still in this game. He didn't, like, cost them the game or anything. Then he ends up going 6 innings, 2 earned runs. That's better than a quality start even, which is obviously 6 innings and 3 earned runs. So I think his recovery was so impressive that's why I have him on the side of things that went right in this game. In-game adjustments are just so important to being a good starting pitcher. They're one of the most important things. And it's one thing to show up with a game plan and be able to execute that. It's a whole nother thing to show up with a game plan, execute that, have it not work despite the fact that you are at least somewhat executing what you wanted to going into the game, and then having to completely change the game plan on the fly. And I think that's what we saw from Mize. Outside of the fastball and the curve, slurve, sweeper, slider number 3, whatever the heck you want to call it, outside of those 2 pitches, I thought everything else was pretty brutal, to be honest with you, in this game. I thought the splitter was wildly ineffective. The shorter, less loopy slider was not very effective either. So he went very fastball and sweeper, slurve, whatever, the loopier slider. He went very heavy on those 2 pitches, and that worked. And that's so impressive to have him and the catching department, obviously Dingler in this game, just be so on the same page. I'm sure the pitching coaches were on board with that and were very vocal and fluid, talking about the game plan with them as well. It was so beautiful and went so well. And yeah, he dogged his way to a quality start. And if it wasn't for the error in the what was it again, the second inning, he's walking out of this game with a lead. But unfortunately, there was. Now he's still they got a lead in the bottom of the 6th, and he pitched in the top of the 6th. But yeah, so I really again, like there's a lot that he needs to work on. This was not a flawless performance by any stretch of the imagination. The first 3 innings were really rough command-wise, and everything besides those 2 pitches was pretty wildly ineffective, to be honest with you. But the fact that he was able to adjust, adapt, and recover is awesome. And that's what being a starting pitcher is all about. So I give him all the credit in the world, and I think he absolutely deserved to be talked about on the side of things that went right in this game. Not that that matters to literally anyone, him included, but for the sake of the format of the show, we'll talk about him here. Still waiting to see him look as he did before the IL stint, right? I still think we're waiting to see that level and that version of him again. But still a sub-3 ERA, and it's the middle of June, man. We'll gladly take that. The bullpen is great in this game. 3 innings pitched, perfect baseball, I think. No, they definitely had no walks and no hits. Was there a hit batter in there? Whatever. Really good pitching from the bullpen. Those 3 innings, only 2 strikeouts, which has kind of been the reoccurring theme on the season and something we're hoping to improve upon at the trade deadline. But Chase Lee continues to be one of my favorite stories of the entire season, man. This dude is just saws off right-handed hitters, and he is such a weapon. I don't want to see him in a Mud Hens uniform ever again, legitimately. I think he has more than earned it. I think he deserves it, and I think he is such a specialist and is so good at what he does. I do not want to see Chase Lee pitching anywhere besides the Detroit Tigers for the rest of this calendar year, certainly. Tommy Kahnle, great as he pretty much always has been. And then Hannafy goes to close the door. Really good to give Will Vest another day off. He does avoid the IL. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Anything else that went right? Zach McKinstry on base twice. Solid defense. We'll gladly take that. Continues to, he has a 780 OPS because, why not? What went wrong in this game? I'm going to be pretty nitpicky here because I've already kind of talked about everybody, and like everything kind of went really well for Detroit. Obviously, the error in the second inning, I've already alluded to that a few times. That's something that is frustrating because the defense in the last 2 games has directly influenced the run total for the opposing team that's been put on the board. Now, Sunday, way more than on Tuesday, but the last 2 games, you've had errors that have been pretty costly. And that's just something that, obviously, I'm not telling you something you don't already know if you're here, can't consistently happen. So hopefully that's something that doesn't become a reoccurring theme. But like outside of that, I mean, like if you want an individual, Parker Meadows, his first at bat, I thought was wildly uncompetitive. But like I actually thought his last 2 at bats were pretty solid. He roped a ball to right field that almost got over the right fielder's head, didn't. Line drive out, and then worked a full count in the 3rd at bat. Like I really don't think that those were terrible plate appearances. Just didn't get any results. The first one wasn't great. I will admit that. And like I'm very far from worried about him, as I've reiterated a lot. As a team, like the clutch hitting in this game was pretty terrible. I think that's maybe a fair criticism. They went 1 for 5 with RISP, which I know doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world necessarily, but those at-bats were wildly uncompetitive. Zach McKinstry had an at-bat with a runner on third that just absolutely made my skin crawl. So yeah, like I think again, and that's me being super nitpicky. This was a 4-run victory, and I think that the team deserves a lot of credit. So that's really kind of it. Mize gave up 2 earned runs in 6 innings. That's not bad. Offense applied pressure from inning 2 until the end of the game. Like their runs were very scattered out. They scored in what, four different innings. Like that's a really good sign. And put up 7 total. That's obviously not bad at all. And the bullpen was perfect. So I know at one point it looked kind of close there in the middle, but they did what good teams do against bad teams, and that is they keep applying pressure, and eventually it bursts. And that's a solid win in my book. Okay, let's talk stuff. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Trade Coffee. My roommate and I have Trade Coffee literally every morning because they sent me a box based on a quiz that I took on their website talking about what coffee we like, what we're using it for, what flavors we like, etc. It isn't just a drink, coffee, right? It is a ritual. It's a lifeline for people. It's something that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And for a lot of people, it truly becomes essential in the morning. So why settle for anything less than amazing? And that is where, as I said, Trade Coffee comes in. It's the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. Delivers fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got a roast you will love. Like I said, I took their quiz. It only took 1 minute. And the first bag they sent me was spot on. It's exactly what we like here. And to the point where my roommate broke out the coffee maker that we haven't used in like a year and a half of living here, and now has it set to brew coffee for us every morning at 8 a.m. while we're both getting ready for work. So it is perfect. And if the match isn't perfect for you, Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. Right now, Trade is also offering an exclusive deal for our customers where you get 50% off your first month trial at drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. That's TRADE.com/LockedOnMLB for 50% off of your 1 month trial. drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. All right, everybody, welcome back. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. I can talk today. Isn't that a beauty? Golly, I can spell. That's a beautiful thing that I wasn't able to do if you listened to yesterday's show. Let's talk stuff. So one of the things that Major League Baseball actually pointed out, MLB official X account tweeted or posted, whatever the heck, that the Tigers are now 15-5 on the season when they face a left-handed starting pitcher. That's a good stat. That's a really good stat. Going into the season and last offseason, over the winter, one of the big points of emphasis was to improve against left-handed pitching and have some more established players, if you will. Now, obviously, I think it kind of goes without saying, Torkelson has been a massive part of that. Torkelson was very unproductive a season ago, is now not only playing every day, but is also destroying left-handed pitching, like OPS around 1,000 levels of destroying. So I think that you're looking for one key factor, it's probably that one. But I think that in general, Gleyber Torres, obviously, and even having that success despite Andy Ibanez, the lefty killer from a year ago, not being very productive this year. Dylan Dingler, a huge part of that. Like there's so much that Javier Baez, there's so much that has gone into that. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So good for the Tigers. Good for that offense. What else? Donnie Kelly, baby, in the Pirates dugout. Obviously, is the interim manager. I hope he sticks, man. I really hope he continues. I don't think his record is that bad. I think the Pirates were just terrible under the previous previous regime there, and they've been around 500-ish. Maybe I'm totally off base with that. Maybe the Pirates are just in a tailspin, but I think at one point at least that was the case. And we all love Donnie Kelly, baby, here. Obviously, we'll forever support him. He's a massive part of Tigers lore, especially people of kind of like my generation. Everybody loves Donnie Kelly, so they just can't stop Donnie Kelly, baby. So that was cool to see. And then honestly, for me personally, my dad growing up loved Gene Lamont. I don't know why, but my dad, and this is like 20 years ago. This is like pre him being just the bench coach that sat next to Leland. Like this is like still third base coach Gene Lamont. Okay, and yeah, so seeing him at pushing 80 years old, going down there, and he's the special advisor, and he's sitting there and is kind of, talking with Don Kelly throughout the game. Just two Tigers legends now manning the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kind of cool to see. So shout out to Gene Lamont. Shout out Don Kelly. Gene Lamont, also a brilliant baseball mind. Has a fascinating history in the game of baseball. Managed for a while. Respect Gene Lamont and his baseball knowledge. Javier Baez, tip of the cap for 10 years of Major League Baseball service. I saw some people that when this was celebrated online were kind of like, who cares? This is a huge deal. I urge you to go read Tigers Minor League Report, who I plug all the time on this show and absolutely adore everybody that works for them. And everybody that writes for them and makes content. Chris and Raj, obviously at the top of that, are two great human beings. I have lunch with Raj all the time. Great people, okay? And no ball, and should be your first stop for, Tigers organization and minor league updates. They wrote a great article on Tuesday about all of the things that come with hitting your 10th year of Major League service time. It is a really big deal to people. You get put in, it's not just like, oh, like we made it, whatever. Like the incentives that you get from Major League Baseball and the security that you get from hitting your 10th year is a massive deal to players. So I urge you to go read that. It's really fascinating, and they do a great job with everything, like I said, but that article does a great job of kind of highlighting why it is such a big deal for players when they hit 10 years of service. So tip of the cap to Javi. Good news for the Tigers. Will Vest avoids the injured list. Brilliant stuff. All the tests came back positive. Well, good. Negative in terms of there was like anything wrong. Positive in terms of it was a good thing. I'm very much not a doctor, but everything seemed to be good. Will Vest and AJ Hinch both said, I almost said Javier Baez, and AJ Hinch both said themselves that everything's good. He's feeling a lot better after the off day, and nobody's too worried about putting any restrictions on him or anything. I think it's nice that he had an off day on Tuesday, however, so I'm glad the offense was able to pull through there. Tyler Owens optioned, which we kind of assumed it was either going to be Will Vest on the IL or Tyler Owens optioned. So that was the result. Huge win. And I know that sounds weird because it's the Pirates, but like as we kind of highlighted, Scooble is going in game 2. You're going to have the advantage there. You're going to be favored. You should win that. Skeens has game 3. You might not be favored against the guy, generational talent with a 1.7 ERA. So really important to get game 1 if you're if Scooble and Skeens are going in different games the rest of the series. The one final twist I'll put on you here is there is rain on the radar on Tuesday. So there is a chance that the Tigers are rained out and there is no ball game Tuesday night. If that were to happen, what are the odds we can convince AJ Hinch and I guess Don Kelly, but what are the odds we can convince these teams to just give us Scooble versus Skeens? What do you think they do it? I think we could be like, hey, like, come on, like we all kind of everybody in the world kind of really wants this. I've never rooted for a rain delay in my life. Okay. When I played, I didn't. I hated them. I love the game of baseball far too much. I love watching. I loved playing. all of those things. Okay. This might be the exception to that rule. This might be like for the betterment if it means they're going to line up. If they don't line them up anyway, and they just have them pitch separate games and they both go on Wednesday or Thursday, whatever, then I'm going to be even more pissed because then we had a rain out and we have a doubleheader and we're going to deal with like just split a doubleheader or whatever. That's going to piss me off. So pick a lane. Okay, one or the other. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shots to everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow. Rain or shine, sleet or hail, game or not, game or played or not, whatever. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.